News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
KVNU News Time is 4:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Roof Rescue. A 26-year-old Logan man has confessed to sharing child pornography through social media. Ray waived his right to a fair trial and accepted a plea deal. According to court records, Ray appeared last week in First District Court. He pleaded guilty to 3 counts of attempted sexual exploitation of a minor, a third-degree felony. As part of the plea agreement, prosecutors agreed to dismiss 3 similar charges. Ray was arrested October 1st, 2021, after police received a cyber tip from the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. It described how a computer in the area had been flagged sharing child pornography through Facebook Messenger. Police reviewed the evidence in question. It included a pornographic video of a 10 to 12-year-old girl. Officers tracked the IP address of the Facebook account to Ray's residence in Logan. He was taken into custody and interviewed. KVNU News Time is 4:06. KVNU weather for tonight. Partly cloudy skies, areas of haze continuing tonight, and overnight low is expected to be above 0, 5 to 10 above. Mostly cloudy on Friday, still hazy, and a high around 30. Right now it's 14 degrees at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by the Duct Hunter. They remind you to change your furnace filter every 3 months. Your furnace will run more efficiently. To clean your ducts, give them a call, 435-770-4813.
This is David from Roof Rescue. A roof is not something most people think about until they notice a leak on the ceiling. This time of year, fluctuation in temperatures, along with rain, snow, and ice, can do a number on your roof. If you notice these leaks, they won't go away on their own and are oftentimes a sign that the roof has reached the beginning of the end of its life. Call Roof Rescue for a free analysis, diagnosis, and estimate. Let's fix those leaks and keep you dry this winter. Call 435-999-4268 or visit roofrescueusa.com. Roof Rescue, providing watertight peace of mind.
KVNU News Time is 4:07. One man was hospitalized in critical condition following a shooting in Salt Lake City. Officials said the shooting was reported a short time before 7 p.m. in the Glendale neighborhood. According to a press release, Salt Lake City Fire and bystanders performed life-saving measures to the man. He was transported to a nearby hospital in critical condition. The suspect took off before officers arrived, police said. Detectives believe this is an isolated incident. There does not appear to be any danger to the community. The case remained under investigation. Led by Sean Bairstow's 20 points, the Utah State Aggies defeated the New Mexico Lobos 84-73 last night in men's basketball in the Spectrum. The Aggies are now 18-5 with the win. The Lobos fell to 19-4. And Lauri Markkanen had 28 points, 13 rebounds. Mike Conley added a 3-point play and 2 clutch free throws in the closing minutes to lift the Utah Jazz to a 131-128 win over the Toronto Raptors in Salt Lake City last night. KVNU News Time is 4:08. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
The Above and Beyond Salute, sponsored by Firehouse Subs, recognizing first responders and other deserving individuals in our community. Friday mornings at 8:30 on News Talk KVNU.
Now that the holidays are over, are you feeling the need to declutter and get that stale, closed-up smell out of your home? You should have your air ducts cleaned by the Duct Hunter. The dust that accumulates over time can appear as surface dust and can cause your home to smell musty and dusty. Call the Duct Hunter at 770-4813.
We are the Duct Hunter. Breathe better, save money, protect your home. We are the Duct Hunter.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I'm an assistant to help you prevent wildfires.
Dude, I've got this. I've been camping since I was 5 years old.
But I am a camping influencer.
You know what? I'll bet you $5. Assistant Smokey, what is the best way to put out a campfire?
To put out a campfire, drown with water, stir, drown again. Then make sure the fire is out cold by feeling with the back of your hand.
Wait, really?
I'll take the $5.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
When it comes to home care, it's important to know you have a choice. If you or a loved one is in need of hospice or home health services, remember that Primrose Home Care and Hospice believes in treating the patient as well as the problem. We work directly with you and your doctor to create a health plan that's catered to your needs. Our team is devoted to providing options in the freedom and safety of your own home. Visit us at primrosecare.com or call to schedule a free consultation. Primrose Home Care and Hospice, your local hospice and home health provider since 2006.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cash Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 a.m. at 102 FM.
Welcome to KVN News for the People. It is Thursday, February 2nd, Groundhog Day. Groundhog saw his shadow, by the way, for those who observe or believe or whatever. I'm Jason Williams, Bill Walter here in the studio as well, and there is a lot to talk about today. A lot of action on Capitol Hill. We'll recap that in hour two. Water Week. Big announcement on Monday from lawmakers that this was Water Week, and you were going to just be stunned by all the water legend. Yeah, it kind of trickled out. So lawmaker, I did not plan that even.
Oh,
that's
a pun.
That just
almost
popped into my head as lawmakers taking some heat for this, like this big, huge announcement on Monday, and then just like nothing. So we'll talk about that in hour two. Here in hour one, it is Thursday. It is 4 o'clock. Oh, Frank Schofield, Logan City Schools superintendent, will be with us. We're going to talk about the legislative session from their perspective, what the Logan City School District Administration is keeping a close eye on bill-wise as we round out the roughly the 1/3 point of the 45-day session at the end of this week. So that's all coming up in hour two. Charlie Schill here with us in hour one. Charlie writes for CashValleyDaily.com, but once a week, every Thursday at 4, he steps into our studio to talk theater, arts, entertainment, and more. And Charlie, hello.
How you doing?
It is, these temperatures, it is perfect theater weather.
That was a beautiful pun, by the way.
I really didn't plan that.
Pun.
I was going to say it just kind of fizzled out, and then I realized, we're talking about water. It trickled out.
Yeah, neat.
Yeah, it was. I don't know if you caught that, but they had this huge press conference on Monday. They had
everything went into the conference and went away.
Yeah, every committee killed all the water bills, and so Water Week was kind of like, meh. We'll see. But they're spending a lot of money one way or another, so we'll see if it does any good. I hope we get more than stop watering your yards. I mean, that's what we've gotten so far. I hope they get a little more creative than that. But anyway, I was thinking about it, though. As cold as it is, whether it's a movie theater or a traditional stage theater, they're always heated. They're always warm. And I think we need to reconsider the scheduling lull that happens here in northern Utah this time of year. This might be the perfect time to pack theaters, but we only have to make it another week to USU.
Yeah.
Okay.
Puffs.
We can do that.
Yeah.
Most likely, but you've got a lot of big news today.
Okay, well, I went to see the USU Eastern's production of Sherwood, The Adventures of Robin Hood, and the less said about that, the better.
Really? Maybe, is this their first foray into touring?
I have no idea.
I don't remember anything before from them, but...
Okay, so I've developed a reputation for always finding something good to say about
a show.
You're fair. I don't know how that happened, but you've remarked on it, and some of our listeners have remarked on it.
Well, you even said once here in the studio, you never have a bad time sitting there in the theater, even if you end up not liking what you saw.
Yeah, well...
an exception, huh?
Sherwood was a show imported from eastern Utah in price, and they can stay there for all I care.
Now, was it the show itself or the performers?
It reminded me that I need to get down on my knees and thank the Lord that I get to write about talented people like the performers in all of our shows. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
I think I see where you're going with that. If you had to guess, was this something that maybe would have gotten better with more rehearsing? Or was
That's
this
all I'm going to say about that.
You're not going to add to it? So I guess we don't need to say avoid this one because it's not an option.
It's not an option.
If you didn't see it, you did avoid it.
Yes.
Already. So I wonder if they'll do this again now. I like
God,
the
I
idea.
hope not.
Well, I like the idea when we talked about it last week of universities taking their talent and kind of swapping it around, touring each other's campuses and stuff like that. Maybe it's not a good idea, though. We'll see. USU would probably knock some socks off. Maybe we should send them down to Eastern Campus and say, here's how it's done.
That's a thought. This is how it's done, yes.
This is, I don't know if you want to jump right to it or not, but I'm still kind of wowed by some of the news you have about Utah Festival Opera today.
Yeah.
There's more. Really quick, though, I was, for the regular hours of the show, I was reaching out to, trying to get some members of the RAPS committee to come on, and we'll still do that next week. Schedules didn't work out. I wanted Jack Draxler or someone from the council to come in and talk about the open space committee. Both of these were ballot questions on in November, approved by voters. I wasn't able to get someone in, but I did talk to some people with the committee, and they said that they're going to do they're going to do a sort of an assessment this year and look at what they'd funded and come up with some guess at. They'll bring some PhDs in and some economists and guess at ROI, return on investment. And they're hoping sometime this year they'll be able to put a report out to the public saying, thank you for renewing this program. Here's an idea of what you've bought with this money. And so this person told me, they asked me not to use their name because this isn't meant to be public yet, because they're still trying to figure out how they could do this. They haven't done it yet. But he did tell me that though he's been on the committee for several years, he said, I am absolutely amazed at what little we've learned just asking a few questions as far as how far those dollars are going and what it means for local hotels, restaurants, the overall business community here in Cache Valley. But one thing that he cited specifically was Utah Festival Opera, and he said that's kind of our bar. We know what Utah Festival Opera is capable of bringing in good years and bad years. They've seen spikes and dips, but we know what they're capable of, and so that's the bar that they've set as here's what could happen.
Yeah, and
that's amazing.
Utah Festival Opera, for the most part, puts in requests for funds to use for advertising out of the valley.
Yeah.
And they very seldom get what they ask for.
Sure. Yeah. And it's smart use of money, I think. But
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what he told me. He said, we've just been we knew, as we vote as a committee on where some of this taxpayer money goes, we knew it's an investment. We know it's a good idea. That's why we're here.
But
he said we had no idea it was this good.
There is a bias.
Sure.
On the part of the committee and their members from the county council, that they want to spend the money on trails and parks and things that everybody in the valley gets to use.
Yeah.
Okay?
Which they should,
Absolutely. That's hard to fault. Those are taxpayers. That's giving the money back to those taxpayers.
Sure. But you can't forget
But you can't
this.
forget the fact that the Utah Festival Opera brings in millions of dollars every year.
Literally.
If the Utah Festival Opera dried up and blew away, we wouldn't have those summer citizens come in.
Yeah.
They'd go somewhere else. They'd go to Cedar City. They'd go to the Oregon Shakespeare Festival.
Yeah.
They'd go somewhere, but it wouldn't be here.
That's well, and that's what he said. Now, these numbers are guesses. They're hoping if they're able to do this and actually put out a kind of report that they'll have some more specific numbers. But he said, our guesses based on, we looked at what we as committee members spent ourselves when we went out to a theater production or a festival opera event or whatever it might be. And so he said the guess is that about 75% of the people who come for a Utah Festival Opera show one night spend between $50 and $75 before the show somewhere in Logan.
Dinner,
yeah,
rooms, something.
Yeah, somewhere they're spending between $50 and $75, then going to the show, which they've also bought tickets for.
$60 a pop, usually.
Yeah. And that's a lot of economic activity when you think about it, just that one night.
Times 1,100 seats.
For how many
in
weeks?
the Ellen Eccles Theater.
Yeah.
For a month.
Yeah, 4 weeks. That is a huge amount of economic activity.
That is a huge amount of money, yes.
It was just so cool to have that little conversation with him, and I hope they do this. I hope they can. Obviously, the public, it doesn't need to be sold. They just voted to renew the program for another 10 years, and that's great. But it still would be interesting if they're able to get this report out and say, here's where your money went. Here's an economist's view of what you invested, what you bought, and what that brought back into the valley. And just, I'd never thought about that. One night for two people going out before a festival opera event in July sometime, and all that economic activity. And then, as you said, for 4 weeks, And that's just one of the things you can do here in Cache Valley between roughly February and December.
And matinees and evening performances. Sure. And the Lyric is also over here, and they're sucking people. Well, they're bringing people in as well.
Just amazing to think about.
And it's unbelievable when you... I just can't get over it, I lived in a little town called Temple in Texas, and they had a civic theater and they had a couple of community theaters, and and it was fine. It kept the community going, but it had nothing like the economic impact that these programs have. Nothing like it.
That's just honestly amazing to think about. I love it, and I really hope that policymakers, especially cities and county level policymakers, are aware of that, because it is, as you mentioned, parks, trails, things like that, outdoor recreation gets so much focus because it's kind of more visible, literally. But this is the arts culture in Cache Valley and what it means for our economy and the jobs that it creates through that ripple effect.
Well, last year, while they were talking about this, Gina Worthen comes up with, when she was on the council, she's no longer there, but she wanted an extra $150,000 to go to North Logan.
So the pumpkin walk.
They could repair a pavilion to house the pumpkin walk.
Yeah.
And she said, there's 30,000 people go to the pumpkin walk every year, and those are our people. They're community people.
Sure.
And this is well worth it. And the whole rest of the council said no.
Yeah.
And the reason they said no, well, there were a couple of reasons, but was because the pumpkin walk is local. It has no economic impact.
Yeah. The money spent probably would have been spent anyway.
Absolutely.
Other than the price of admission, if there is one.
If there is one, I
don't think there is.
I never
anymore,
have, but
yeah. It's just important to keep that in perspective. That these programs like RAPs are to take, a small amount of taxpayer dollars and say, how can we boost this? We know it generates a lot of economic activity. Could it generate more with, as you said, UFO, they do an advertising package to get people from Salt Lake driving up.
Outside the valley advertising.
And those people are most likely buying dinner in a hotel when they come. That's tripling the economic activity for a night. So very cool stuff. We'll keep an eye on this one, and if they do, launch into this officially, we'll talk about it here on the show. Charlie Schill, our guest, talking theater in Cache Valley. We'll be back with more right after this.
Friday edition Clay Travis Buck Sexton Show will get you all ready for the weekend by breaking down some of the craziness from Al Sharpton, but we'll also have a little bit of fun. My man Buck is getting married on Saturday. It is his wedding eve. What are you expecting?
Well, that's going to be amazing. We're also going to look at the advice you've all been giving me for a long, happy, and lasting marriage. So I better learn this stuff real quick. That's coming up on Clay and Buck.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
Hey, it's me, the regular dad. I ask guys like you a few questions, a kind of parenting test. So here goes. What is this sound? Yeah, that's a tough one, isn't it? That's the sound a young teenager makes when he's done something he regrets. Maybe he got caught up in peer pressure, tried a few drinks at a party, and the next morning, well, he makes this sound. Kind of a sad sound, isn't it? Hear the embarrassment, the reluctance, the pulling away? If you recognized it, then you know exactly what to do. Listen. It might take a long time. A drive together, or a walk that turns into a talk, and that turns into an arm around his shoulder that means you understand. That's when you can really talk, when he knows you understand. Then the both of you can figure out how not to make the same mistake again. I know it's tough. Keep at it. You're doing great.
This message brought to you by The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Charlie Schill, our guest here in the studio, talking theater in Cache Valley. Just a little unplanned conversation there about the RAPS program and what theater and what arts in general in Cache Valley mean to our economy throughout the year. And I just kind of said this, off the cuff that last segment, Charlie, but I realized this is 11 months out of the year. We take a bit of a break in July. And there are weeks here and there throughout the year where maybe there isn't a whole lot going on, but it's really January. It's really only January that something isn't going on that is probably generating economic activity.
I can't. I went home. My wife works for UPR, and they've got stuff going on.
Yeah, they have a cool thing on Ukraine coming up.
Yeah, well, I've heard him talk before.
Okay.
Our calendar for February and March is insane with shows and lectures and blah, 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 blah.
Everyone trying to get out first.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how bad it was going to be. Well, it's not bad, really, but,
No nights at home.
We're never at home.
That Netflix queue is just going to keep growing and growing and growing.
Well.
You'll never catch up.
I hate it when they post, say goodbye to these things.
Yeah.
They're going away from Netflix.
And you're in the middle of it.
And you've never seen any of them.
What happens to me is I'll be in the middle of it. I'll be on like episode 4.
Yeah. While we're talking about the Festival Opera, big news this week. The Festival Opera has announced that they're going to give free tickets to all of their main stage shows and to any of the concert productions they have during the year.
That's big.
During the summer, to K through 12 students and their teachers.
That's when you told me this, I tried to do some rough math in my head.
You don't want to do it.
That's a lot.
Well,
that's what I'll say.
Even
if you only get, say, 30% interested, That's a lot.
That's a lot. The deal is that Michael Ballum has managed, and he's been trying to do this for years. He's worked out a deal with the Board of Education. They have their professional outreach program in schools. And that program it is sponsored by the state legislature as well, but it supports education in public schools by bringing in professional arts organizations, educational programs to the schools.
So this is a partnership to create interest.
But it's a step, a big step. They've done things like the Shakespeare Festival does a touring show of Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
And they bring it around all the schools. And then they give an educational program about it. But, this is targeted for the summer because the Festival Opera is in July.
Yeah. That's interesting because you're talking about getting kids and teachers to commit during the school year. Then they would attend during the summer, and then I would assume in the fall there will be some sort of follow-up.
Sure.
That's interesting.
And the Festival Opera has its own conservatory where it has young people learning theater arts and that sort of thing. And this will be in conjunction with that. Vanessa Ballum is their educational coordinator. Her husband, Stefan Espinoza, runs the conservatory.
Yeah.
This is going to be a big deal. It sounds to me like there's going to be a big fight for tickets.
I would guess.
I would think so.
Because they couldn't offer unlimited. I mean, I'm sure they have.
They are offering unlimited.
Or I mean, to the rest of.
You sign in to the website.
Oh, okay.
You click on a website. You fill out a reservation form, and then a staffer from the Festival Opera's box office gets back to you and arranges your seating.
Okay. So how will this maybe affect other patrons?
It's if they don't get their requests in fairly early.
That's what it
It could be a problem.
Seems like, because again we're talking a lot.
Yeah.
That is
the eligible body that they're offering these tickets to is enormous.
Yeah.
Teachers, just the teachers would be a heavy impact. If every teacher in the school system said, "Oh yeah, I want to go to all of those plays," bang, 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 bang.
Yeah,
that's going to take up a lot of space. And
that's
then
a lot.
And then their students are going to pour in as well.
Yeah,
and I mean those are not cheap tickets.
No, but also what a kind of fascinating idea too.
Well, maybe the idea is that they're going to pack the balconies.
Yeah, that's one thing I can say is Eccles, despite the success Utah Festival Opera already has with selling tickets, the Eccles is a theater that could absorb at least a large part of this.
Well, yeah,
without it getting too packed.
Lots of times, if you've got tickets for the Festival Opera and you go in there for a matinee,
yeah,
the theater isn't crowded by any means, but and what they're trying to do is turn those empty seats into future theater patrons.
It's a really
by
good
hooking
idea.
the kids on professional theater.
Yeah.
Right here at home.
That is, I would imagine, I mentioned Frank Schofield will be with us an hour or two. Last month he brought students from the Mount Logan Middle School production of Oklahoma that actually starts tomorrow. And
I think it started last week, didn't it?
I thought it was the 3rd through
Well, it could be.
This Friday and Saturday, and then Tuesday and Wednesday, I think, or Monday and Tuesday. Bill, do you remember Oklahoma, Mount Logan Middle School?
Give me a nanosecond here.
Well, he's looking. Those kids were here. That's who I'm thinking of. Something like this. They get a ticket to Utah Festival Opera. They get to go experience it. Maybe they even, because they're there on those tickets, get a little behind the scenes, maybe. Not that night necessarily, but in other ways.
Sure.
As part of a class or an ongoing education. And then maybe we see those kids turning up in productions, 5-6 years later as they graduate.
It's a brilliant idea.
Good idea.
It's a good idea. It's coordination between the Festival Opera, between the POPs program from the Board of Education, and a bunch of donors. And they've gotten together. Michael Ballum says the stars just aligned and we did it.
That's very cool.
It's going to be cool. Of course it's going to be cool.
It'll be interesting to see this. I wonder if we can get some students to volunteer to let us sort of track them. Not literally, but see where they go after their experience this summer, and how it pops up in their classes in the fall. Maybe talk to some of the educators involved too. That could be really fun. So Bill found it. For those interested, Mount Logan Middle School, Oklahoma, is this Friday and Saturday, and then I was wrong. It's not the 6th and the 7th. It's this Friday and Saturday, then the 6th, then the 10th and 11th. So Friday, Saturday, and then Monday, if I'm reading that right. Yeah, and then the next Friday and Saturday at Mount Logan Middle School. And it's cheap, and they were talented. We'll be back. Charlie Schill, our guest here in the studio, talking theater in Cache Valley. First, though, a look at the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:37, and the news is brought to you by Northern Steel Building. UDOT is scheduled to close northbound Legacy Parkway between Parish Lane in Centerville and Park Lane in Farmington Thursday night, and again from Saturday through Monday morning, while crews place beams for a new bridge connecting I-15 with the new West Davis Highway. Northbound Legacy Parkway will close at midnight tonight and is scheduled to reopen at 5 a.m. Friday. It'll close again Saturday at 4 a.m. and reopen on Monday at 5 a.m. Drivers should expect delays tonight as well as during the day on Saturday and Sunday, and should use I-15 as an alternate. Rex Harris, UDOT project director, said they have planned these closures at night and on weekends to get the work done while inconveniencing as few people as possible. Logan City officials are soliciting residents' input on a proposed dog park adjacent to the current Logan landfill. According to Debbie Harvey, a public information representative for Logan Parks and Recreation, the city is looking at constructing an approximately 10-acre dog park as part of the regional park complex in the buffer zone of the closing landfill. The proposed park complex, she explains, is planned to be around 100 acres in size, including a family park, a disc golf course, walking trails, bike trails, a fitness course, and an adventure playground. At this time, city officials, however, are only seeking residents' opinions on the proposed dog park portion of the complex. The survey includes an artist's rendition of the proposed park. And Utah lawmakers voted not to advance a proposal that would have banned cell phones and smartwatches in classrooms. The House Education Committee delayed House Bill 270, sponsored by Representative Trevor Lee, Republican from Layton, in a 3-9 vote late Wednesday evening after a lengthy hearing that included a number of comments in opposition to the measure. Lee said his bill would help students and teachers, calling cell phones in classrooms a health problem. Opponents called his idea big government, but Lee, a Republican, disagreed. During the committee hearing, the Utah Education Association argued these decisions should be made at the local level. Rita Hingren with the American Federation of Teachers Utah called the bill unenforceable and untenable. KVNU News Time is 4:39.
In the beginning of time, in a land far away, hit a material in the earth so versatile that once discovered would give way to a century of innovation. From primitive weapons to railroads to buildings that scrape the skies.
What is it? Steel. And without it, our world would look much different. Nothing is stronger or more versatile than steel. And if you want a building that'll stand the test of time, call Northern Steel Buildings at 435-677-7300 or visit northernsteelbuilding.com. That's northernsteelbuilding.com.
KBNU weather for tonight, mostly clear but hazy. Overnight low 5 to 10 above. Mostly cloudy Friday with haze around 30. Partly cloudy, hazy conditions on Saturday. High temperature in the lower 30s. It's been to 15, 1 degree warmer than yesterday's 14. It is 14 degrees right now at KBNU. When you need roof repair or replacement, don't call just anybody. Call someone with the experience, knowledge, and skill to get the job done right. Roof Rescue, 435-999-4268. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is Cheryl bringing you the Daily Financial Market Report on behalf of financial advisor Jeff Olson and Edward Jones. Markets moved sharply higher, driven by technology sectors. Equity markets were higher on Thursday, led by the technology-heavy NASDAQ, which was up over 3%. This comes as an earnings report from tech giant Facebook surprised to the upside, and as the Federal Reserve and European Central Bank both raised rates this week. In the U.S., Fed Chairman Jerome Powell noted that the disinflationary process has started, providing support to market sentiment, as markets have started to price in a more gradual pace of rate hikes and potential rate cuts by year-end. Treasury yields have moved substantially lower. Today, U.S. equities closed higher. The Dow Jones closed down 39 points, or 0.11% at 34,054. The NASDAQ closed up 384 points, or 3.25% at 12,201. The S&P 500 closed up 61 points, or 1.47% at 4,180. And in the bond market, 10-year Treasury yields are trading at 3.39%, lower by 0.01 percentage points. In stocks of local interest, Nucor was up 1.70 to 176.68. Thermo Fisher was down 3.29 to 587.07. Wells Fargo was up 0.20 to 47.23. Walmart was down 1.05 to 143.62. Apple was up 5.39 to 150.82. Northrop Grumman was down 1.73 to 440.86. Amazon was up 7.76 to 112.91. This has been today's Financial Market Report, brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC, and financial advisor Jeff Olson, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice at 580 North Main in Logan. If you would like additional information, please contact our branch office at 435-787-8170. Daily commentary is also located on our website at edwardjones.com.
As a small business, achieving your financial goals and ambitions can be a steep and rocky mountain to climb. This is Brett Green, president of Cache Valley Bank. To conquer this mountain and achieve your goals, it takes planning, hard work, and discipline. At Cache Valley Bank, we have the resources, expertise, and flexibility to help you scale your way to success. Give us a call. Let's work together and climb the mountains that await. Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Charlie Schill, our guest here in the studio for our theater hour. If you'd like to join us, 753-5868. And We've been talking about Utah Festival Opera buying tickets this summer for kids and teachers, all of them, or all of them that want to. And that could be a big crowd. I'm excited to see where that goes. That'll be fun.
It's going to be very interesting to watch.
That is, and their lineup this year. We've got the dueling Aidas Evita,
Verdi and Elton John.
That's right. The original and the pop culture version, basically. I think that's going to be a big draw.
Yeah, I would think so.
I'm curious. I wonder if they could track this. I'm curious how many people see both. To contrast
I think most
and
people
compare.
are going to.
That would be the fun of it, I think, seeing we had that with the Christmas Carol a year ago.
Think of the opportunity for young students to see a stage classic like Our Town.
Yeah. That's a great example because I know that's still taught in high school classes as a book. The playbook itself they go through it in literature classes as they do all the classics. But yeah, that was I was in my 30s before I saw it on stage for the first time. And I'm like, wow, this is way better than we had to read it in junior high school, or junior high English. But that's an opportunity for them.
Yeah.
That's very cool. I'm glad to see the state kind of getting in on this, too, and putting some funding towards it.
Putting some funding into it is a big part of it. And also private donors.
Sure.
But
which Michael Ballum knows a few of, right?
It's a great opportunity. It's a great idea.
Yeah. And I would guess that at least a handful of these students, it ends up being kind of a recruiting tool for future talent.
Well, there's that, and the fact that the Festival Opera has always been facing the specter of what do we do when our audience dies out?
Yeah.
Because most of the audience is that summer crowd, the retirees, those
sure.
kind of people. This would be a way to bring a young audience in at ground level as grassroots and kind of grow them audience.
Yeah.
It's smart. You wondered what Michael would do to top Tenderland? This is it.
That's and this I think could be huge because it's on that note, I have no reason to think this other than gut instinct and some anecdotal evidence, I guess, but I've always felt that concern was a little overwrought. This idea that this younger generation wasn't going to be there for these theater groups like Utah Festival Opera, and maybe we'll see a little bit of that because this is the streaming generation that we're looking at right now.
You have more faith than I do.
I feel like there's an audience for this and always will be. It's different than anything else.
The problem is that you have this. You program for an older crowd.
Sure.
You give them the classics. You give them, Oliver. You give them Oklahoma. You give them South Pacific. You give them what they want.
Things that most audience members have probably seen a few times before.
And it leaves the younger generation who aren't interested in those kind of things anymore. I mean, half the kids couldn't tell you when World War II was. Forget South Pacific.
Yeah. And some, granted, some of the productions don't age as well as others. I'm talking the ones like, the current or more modern classics.
See, I'm thinking, when you see the Festival Opera do some Disney musicals.
Yeah.
When you see them, Aida is the Elton John thing. That's to appeal to younger audiences.
Because that is Aida. The Elton John version is right there for like the millennials and their
rock.
teen children. Yeah. That's I just feel like it will be weird one day. I think about this sometimes. It will be weird, and I assume they'll still be going. But it will be weird one day to see Utah Festival Opera doing something like what was the one that was just recently on the stage and then a movie? Evan
In the Heights.
Yeah, In the Heights is a good example.
Dear Evan Hansen.
Dear Evan Hansen. It would be
Company.
Yeah, and then I think for this younger, I to generalize the Netflix generation, they have had they had Hamilton on Disney Plus.
Yep.
But it's never the same, and so I like this idea of Michael Balance because you're exposing them to that. You're saying, I mean, sure, yeah, someone could film this and put it on Netflix. You can watch it from home. It's not the same. Sit here in the theater and experience it.
But okay, so you're to some extent you're counter programming for the younger audience.
Yeah.
Okay.
Throwing something out there for them,
at
right?
the same time, and here's an opportunity that you could interest a younger audience in things like Oklahoma, like South Pacific.
Yeah.
I
think so.
I've seen this and it was really good, so I want to go see that. I've never heard of that. Oh,
Yeah.
It's an old Rodgers and Hammerstein show? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
That's we saw that West Side Story. That's pretty dated, but that film recently was a hit with younger audiences.
Yeah, but it wasn't a hit with anybody else.
That's true. Yeah. I feel like it was more of a hit with younger audiences,
Because
less
they
exposed
they
to the.
didn't know what
Yeah.
to expect.
And they hadn't seen the stage or
They
the
hadn't-
previous movie.
They hadn't seen the Jerome Robbins choreography.
So that one was good enough, and they liked it. But the older crowds that had seen those were like, not our thing.
The surprising thing, I think, is that the filmed version of In the Heights played better with young audiences than did West Side Story.
Yeah, that was, and if I'm remembering correctly, Hamilton as well on Disney Plus. That didn't Hamilton on Disney Plus didn't really make a splash like Disney hoped it would. But In the Heights did, and HBO is still getting traction out of that one on their streaming services. But Charlie Schill, our guest here in the studio, you can read Charlie's work each and every day at CacheValleyDaily.com. He joins us once a week to talk theater in Cache Valley, and we'll be back with more right after this.
Now that the holidays are over, are you feeling the need to declutter and get that stale, closed-up smell out of your home? You should have your air ducts cleaned by the Duct Hunter. The dust that accumulates over time can appear as surface dust and can cause your home to smell musty and dusty. Call the Duct Hunter at 770-4813.
We are the Duct Hunter. Breathe better, save money, protect your home. We are the Duct Hunter.
The Cache Valley Media Group Home and Garden Show presented by Anderson Seed and Garden is March 24th and 25th. As a business owner, you can visit with, invite, and explain to thousands of potential customers how your business can help. How else are you going to come in contact with several thousand people in only 2 days? The Cache Valley Media Group Home and Garden Show at the Eccles Eye Center. Google Cache Valley Home and Garden Show for details or call 752-1390 for more.
This is how we do every day. We be grinding, and if you wanna come and text us,
If you love them enough to turn off your music and pretend like their music is your music,
This is Mommy's jam.
then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Let's play it again.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Charlie Schill, our guest here in the studio, talking theater in Cache Valley. Just 5 minutes left in hour one, and then Frank Schofield, superintendent of Logan Schools, will be joining us to talk about the legislative session from the school district's perspective. which, if I had to guess, is probably panic and worry. But we'll find out coming up in hour 2. What else we got, Charlie?
Starting Wednesday of this week, or Wednesday of next week, is that show Puffs at Utah Utah State. That's a obvious parody of the Harry Potter books, told from the perspective of losers and also rans who are members of the student body at Hogwarts, but the light don't ever shine on their lives.
No.
The interesting thing about the story is that it's going to be guest directed by a woman named Britannia Howes. She has written and directed the green shows down at Shakespeare Festival.
Oh, okay.
For years, and she directed a version that she adapted of the Shakespeare Cymbeline last year. She's also, and this is what I find really interesting, she's the co-founder of an outfit, a theatrical outfit called Women of Will, which is dedicated to providing artistic opportunities for women by reimagining classic texts, namely Shakespeare's classic texts.
Oh, okay.
And we've seen quite a bit of that. The version of Julius Caesar that Utah State did a couple of years ago was just sprinkled with women in male roles.
Yeah,
and it worked beautifully. And I'm assuming that there's going to be a bit of that in.
I would guess.
In Puffs. And we've also seen a lot of alternative casting in that student version of Les Mis.
Yeah, I saw that.
That was performed last year. Practically all the rebels were women.
Yeah.
And the deal is you just don't make a big deal of it.
No.
And let it play out.
It works.
And see how it works.
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, I doubt much of the audience noticed. I mean, they noticed, but it probably didn't stand out to them as noteworthy or memorable. It was more, was everyone good? And everyone was.
And everyone
especially
was.
At that age.
God, those students.
Yeah. It embarrassed me, actually. I'm like, where's my talent? I don't have an ounce of these. Are like 17-year-old kids, and they were good.
Yep,
they were really good. I'm curious to see if they shake that up a little bit. I should read this for listeners. The full title of this, by the way, starting Wednesday, February 8th. Puffs, 7 increasingly eventful years at a certain school of magic and magic. Yeah. So it's a lengthy title. But, this is basically, they can't say it because of licensing and things like that. They'll get sued. This is a Harry Potter parody. But they can't say that outright. And it should be fun. I don't know a thing about the plot, but it sounds...
It's what happens is these students come in, they're treated like, you're just occupying seats.
Outsiders.
And gradually they find their own self-worth.
Okay.
And it's a multi-generational thing. You end up with the kids of those students.
That's very cool. This could be fun.
Course Line.
Yeah, good choice. Another classic. See, this is another one I think you could update for the Zoomer generation.
Yeah, if you had the toes to do it with.
Yeah, that's
Takes a hell of a lot of dancers.
Someone
to do
told
this
I
show.
asked someone once why this wasn't performed more, and she turned to me and said, "Do you know what it would take to cast?
Where would you find the dancers?
It's been 2 years casting." Charlie, thank you for your time. Listeners, thank you for your time. We'll be back with Hour 2 and Frank Schofield of Logan School District right after this.